Welcome to the Deep Dive,
Emerald City Hockey's Seattle Kraken podcast.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Deep Dive, Emerald City Hockey's Seattle Kraken podcast. And RJ, we're back here in August. It's another episode of our Way Too Early series here. Today we're going to be looking at Kraken stat leaders for the upcoming season. Of course, last week we gave you all our over-unders. Next week we'll be picking every game of the season, but this is the first one, RJ, when we look at who we think is going to lead the team in all the different various stat categories, and we'll see how many we just decide to add on the fly this year after doing that last year. This is really the first time where we can, really get some concrete numbers on the board and then just save everybody the time of watching the season.
Yeah, definitely. I think we said the same thing last year, although you know what? We didn't really save everybody a whole lot of time, and we'll get into it pretty soon how we did last year. Dylan, spoiler alert, it's not good. It's not good.
I mean, we kind of, I'm not surprised. Not surprised, but I still think it's a fun exercise. I know the fans really enjoy it as well during this dead August month, so I'm still looking forward to it. Wanted to give a shout out though real quick, and I know we did this on the Patreon pod to everybody who joined us last week for watching the Kraken's very first game over on Patreon. That was a lot of fun watching that game in Vegas, and just looking ahead, kind of like trying to game out who I want to pick for the stat leaders this year, RJ. Watching that first game does give me like a new appreciation for today's roster after what the Kraken started off with. Just having the young guys to look forward to, especially like a Berkeley Catton and Yanni Newman, maybe getting first full seasons. Shane Wright, second for full year. But just not having a team of like bottom six guys, right? Like just definitively bottom six. Granted, they had a lot of effort out there that maybe this team misses, but boy, looking at this roster compared to that roster, it is better.
Yes, definitely. No question about that. I know we received an email too about like which team would win over a 7-game series between that team and this team. And I've got to think it's the current Kraken team. Just the skill advantage is too much.
Yeah.
And, we could dive later into why that is. But it did give me appreciation for the effort from year one's team, because I feel like that hasn't quite existed the last 2 years, but also the young talent on this year's team, where it's not a bunch of guys that are maybe a little capped potential wise just because everyone's a bit older.
Yeah, it would be interesting because yes, I think skill wise this current day roster is a lot better, but like playoff series, playoff rules, playoff officiating, maybe that other team hangs around a little bit just because of that grit and effort.
I think it would be close. And my first thought when I got that email, thanks Chuck for the email, by the way, is that I couldn't tell you how a 7-game series would go because it's just chaotic under playoff rules. But I could tell you how a single game would go, because I feel like I've seen that game 3 or 4 times, just last year's team, right? Where you'd be playing. I mean, I remember the game against Buffalo back in January. It'd be something like that, or February. It'd be something like that where the year one Kraken team would go up by like 2 or 3 goals because they actually showed up to play and gave full effort. Donato would have a couple or something. And then the better team, the Kraken, would just wake up in the second or third and the skill imbalance would show and they'd come back and they'd get the win pretty easily because there's not a whole lot of talent on the year one team. I feel like I could be pretty certain that's how one game would go.
Yeah, I'm with you there. My immediate thought was current day roster in 5. The other, I don't think they sweep them, but the skill imbalance is so great that I think it makes that much of a difference. But yeah, it was a good email from Chuck, and like I said, it was just a lot of fun to be able to watch that game with everybody over on the Patreon. And then also, of course, real quick before we get into the stat leaders for this upcoming season and how we did last year, got to thank our wonderful sponsor, the law offices of Rico Tessendorf, for sponsoring the deep dive as always. And RJ, there has been something that has happened, a fairly major news story involving the Seattle Kraken that has developed over the course of the last 2 weeks, and one cannot help but think of Rico when we talk, of course, about Bowie being chased by a bear while up in Alaska with John Hayden.
As soon as you mentioned that, I knew where you were going with it, because, man, how have we not talked about this yet?
I don't know. It did escape things last week. What's crazy about this story is how it just keeps developing and getting bigger and bigger to the point, and this was really fun following on Discord as everybody would like find it from new media outlets, and how it then spread globally. You know, BBC
Everybody
picks it
picked it
up and then
up.
everybody gets it right. And it was really cool having everybody like just post like the new places every morning on Discord where it would pop up, people from other parts of the world that are on the Discord putting it in when their local news would pick it up. It was a lot of fun. But look, it's a crazy video, and I could not help but think, as I'm sure everybody who watches the video of the bear charging Bowie, what happens if it doesn't go down the way it goes down, where the bear kind of backs off last second and goes the other way? It would create, I would think, a little bit of a Rico situation.
Yeah, I'd say so. I mean, my first thought was like, well, what are you going to go after the bear for? But yeah, no, it might be the people who put you in that situation that you'd want to target. Unless you know have a can settle for a lot of salmon or something, and that's desirable to you.
Yes, exactly. But yeah, I mean, look, credit to Bowie. Bowie keeps it together in that situation. I don't think I would like. I'm charged by a grizzly bear. I don't know. I think I'm getting out of that water a little quicker than Bowie was like moving to get out of there.
Yeah, I'd say so, but you know what? We kind of know Bowie has nerves of steel. Like from all the situations we've seen behind the scenes, we've seen Bowie a lot, and just nothing phases Bowie whatsoever. Nothing
No,
phases him.
no. And I guess if you're a troll, you probably do think that you could maybe take on the bear.
Yeah,
You know, that crosses your
yeah,
mind for a second.
yeah. I just think of the news story there. That's even better.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say, like, how does this affect Bowie in the national NHL mascot conversation, right? Because, I mean, kind of stared down a grizzly bear as much as
Yeah,
like anybody reasonably can.
yeah. No, I like to think that Bowie maybe considered it, just looked at the bear for a second, pictured yeah, Bissonette's
Yep.
face right over there. Pictured Biz and like grizzly bear, Bisley bear.
Grizzly bear.
Should I do it? But
Oh.
then thought better of it.
Yeah, yeah, and that is the correct thought. Also, you don't want to be messing with wildlife, all that kind of stuff. But it's a good video, and credit also to John Hayden. John Hayden also keeps it cool in that situation. John Hayden probably also
Well,
thinks
that
if
I'm less
things go,
surprised
yeah,
by.
if things go down, I guess I'll just have to take on this grizzly bear. Wouldn't surprise me if he had that thought too.
Yeah, now see, okay, Bowie and Hayden versus the bear.
Yeah, well, I think that's the calculation the bear ran as he got
Hmm.
closer. It's like, you know what? I don't know that I could do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was quite a situation. Thankfully, everything ended up okay. Nobody did need to call Rico, but I'd say at some point someone out there will be involved in an accident, whether on the road, at work, or anywhere in between. And when you are, we hope you call Rico at 425-778-9800 or visit his website, ricotessendor.com, to schedule a free consultation. He's won millions of dollars for his clients and helped thousands of people in the greater Seattle area. And as a fellow member of the ECH community, we know he'll help you too. All right, RJ. So moving on from Bowie leading all mascots in the stat category of bears that had to back down because they were too afraid of him. Where let's talk stats for the upcoming Kraken season and stat leaders. Actually, let's talk that, but let's start with last year and how that went.
Yes. So let's go over our picks from last year. And so I went back and watched last year's episode. And the first thing we talked about was the picks from the previous year and kind of how poorly we did. There were 17 categories that we went over: 13 skater, 4 goalie. We then proceeded to add 2 additional categories over last year's show. But we were both 5 of 17. We called it a tie last year, or the previous year.
Mhm.
So looking at how we did last year,
That seems reasonable if we got the same number.
yeah, yeah. So, well, there was a bit of controversy with mine where you could have said I got 4, could have said I got 6, and we just kind of landed in the middle with
Okay,
5.
fair.
So, depending on how you counted the categories. So, this past year, collectively, we managed to do even worse.
No.
Again, it was another season. I think we see this with the over-unders too, where we just expected things to go a little better.
Mhm.
And we'll see as we break it down too, but there were some very key things that we kind of missed on, and a lot of picks where in the episode we said, oh well, it has to be this guy, we're going with the boring pick, I'm sorry,
Mhm.
but it has to be this guy, and it wasn't that guy. So a lot of certainty that didn't really happen there. But I will say, Dylan, congratulations. If you want to give yourself a pat on the back, you did win. You got 6 correct out of the 19.
So, did I win or did I just do less bad?
You did less bad. I'll go out and say it now. I got 3 of the 19.
Ooh.
But what made the difference, and we'll see it as we break it down, was the goalie categories.
Mm.
And I'll admit I made a mistake. I'm going to correct for that this year, but that's what did me in. The goalie categories, and then also being too optimistic for the shootout goals. So you probably guessed where I went with that.
Yeah.
So let's get started. Let's just dive right into it. And we'll be going along these categories that we did last year, which will be all the same this year. We're going to go with the same 19. So we'll start with goals.
Yep.
Both of us thought we had the no-brainer with Jared McCann, but no, it turns out it was actually Jaden Schwartz. Jared McCann kind of snake bitten for a lot of the season, even going multiple months between goals on a manned net. We didn't really plan for that one. And so, we just didn't see Jaden Schwartz coming. By the way, we also picked dark horse candidates for some of these. So not a lot of those hit either, but we didn't have Jaden Schwartz as our dark horse candidate there.
Yeah. And, it makes sense, right? Jared McCann obviously dealing with something like a wrist or forearm or some sort of injury there, it felt like last season. Not that I think that we never really got confirmation on that, did we?
He got confirmation he was dealing with something all season. We didn't know
where it was,
because it's hockey.
Yeah, but it sure felt like it was affecting his shot and things there. All right, so looking at this year for goals leader, call me crazy, RJ.
Are we gonna do it? Are we gonna do it that way?
Yeah, I figured.
All right, cool. Let's do it.
Yeah.
All right.
I think we could talk about last year's and then roll into this year's picks.
Sounds good.
Category by category. Call me crazy, RJ, but I'm going to say that Jared McCann doesn't have to deal with a season-long ailment all year and comes back and retakes the throne of Kraken goal leader.
Yep, I have to agree with you there. I'm not going to let the 1 year of Jaden Schwartz get in my way here. Now, I did have to think about this a little bit longer just because one factor that you do have this year, and we'll see it with a lot of players, is the trade deadline. And these are just stats with the Kraken. If they are traded at the trade deadline, that number stops. And so Jared McCann, he has been in trade rumors for a little while now. And if the Kraken are out of the deadline, maybe you do see him dealt. And so that could deal a blow to his chances at leading the Kraken in goals this year, but not enough to really worry me. I think it's still less likely. He still has another year on his contract. It doesn't worry me. Do you have a dark horse candidate?
I do, and
lead the team in goals. Yeah,
I do, and that is Shane Wright, who was only 3 goals away from Jared McCann last year. I think he's going into a second full season. Game's going to be a little bit slower for him. Probably get some more ice time this year as well, which will help an accounting stat like goals. But you look at the shooting percentage that Shane Wright has been able to put together here at the NHL level this past season, 20.9%. It's pretty good. The guy knows how to put himself in situations to score goals. He's got a great shot. So my dark horse is Shane Wright, and I think he's gonna really challenge Jared McCann for this one.
Yeah, I don't know that that's off the board enough, just because I would have him at second to Jared McCann.
Maybe it's
were to
not.
happen to McCann. So my dark horse candidate is Ellie Tolvanen, because the way I see it, right, I'm like, okay, this is
the guy who was second on the team in goals last year. Is more off the board than Shane Wright?
I think so, but maybe we could argue about that. Fine, whatever. He's second on the team in goals, maybe not a dark horse candidate. I think it's a little less likely, but the way I see it is if McCann gets dealt, or it's a big sell-off, Schwartz gets dealt, and you look at last season's leading goal scorers, I still would take Shane Wright as probably more likely, but there's not a whole lot else other than Ellie Tolvanen, and he would get more opportunity.
All right, well here's one, Yanni Newman, if he plays like the full season.
See there, I like that one. That's
right.
A good dark horse.
And we know I very much believe in him being a volume shooter. I believe in his shot. I believe in the amount of power play opportunities he's going to have this upcoming season. I think that Yanni Newman has a chance if he's going to play like close to the full 82 or the full 82 with the Kraken. Yanni Newman could be up there.
All right, that's much better. All right, moving on to assists. Last year, we also both got it wrong. We both picked the same player again, and it was Vince Dunn. Now, of course, Dunn ended up missing 20 games, which really hurt him there. Although at an
Yep.
82 game pace, he would have been actually shy of the
Mhm.
real assist leader, Jared McCann. We picked him for all the goal categories,
Yep.
but did not see him leading the team in assists.
Yeah, no, good on Jared McCann, right? Like the shot wasn't there, shooting percentage low for him. Obviously wasn't feeling it there, but wanted to still contribute to the team, and he found a way.
Yep. So, Dylan, are you going to go with the leader again? Are you going to pick Jared McCann to lead the team in assists 2 years in a row?
I am not going to pick Jared McCann to lead the team in assists 2 years in a row. Instead, I'm going to go with somebody that I actually probably should have felt reasonably safe with last year and came very close to Jared McCann, but that is Chandler Stevenson. I think Chandler Stevenson is going to pass the puck. He's going to find teammates a little bit more. We'll see kind of how the lines shake out for this upcoming season, but I think Chandler Stevenson is going to find himself in that conversation for assist leader yet again.
I think that's a solid pick. Of course, he was only one assist shy of Jared McCann last year. I'm going to go with Vince Dunn. I'm going to go Dunn 2 years in a row here because look, if he's healthy, he should lead this team in assists. He just should.
Mhm.
He was very close pace wise, an 82 game pace there. And he's just on the ice so much more. And I think he'll also, maybe benefit not so much from, the new system, like offensively moving the puck a lot up the ice, because I think it's going to be slower. But I think he talked at the end of the last season about wanting to improve in the offensive zone, kind of work the blue line a little bit better. And I think he's going to get better at that. So I'll go Vince Dunn. Do you have a dark horse for assists?
I do like that Vince Dunn pick. I don't know, like there's not a ton of guys that I feel like can reach can say like definitively get to say 35 plus assists, which you kind of
Yeah.
is the
You don't
range
need to
you
go
need
way
to
off the
be in.
board here. Just,
Um,
yeah.
Jared McCann would be like my dark horse, right? Because like I just
Okay.
even though he led the team in assists last year, he feels like more of a dark horse if he was to do it again. I just think like if we are seeing Jared McCann kind of evolve into more of a all-rounded player in the offensive zone where he is going to be passing the puck. Maybe on the power play, he sends some cross zone to Yanni Newman for one-timers, stuff like that. I could see Jared McCann being up there in assists again.
Yeah, that's a good pick. My dark horse is Shane Wright. If he is able to take some opportunity and run with it, and really he could be, if things go right in a developmental year, he could be the team's 1C by the end of the season. Like, he does have that potential, right? You've talked about this being the kind of make or break, put up or shut up year for him. If it all goes well, he's going to put up a lot of points. I think he has more point scoring potential than just about any other forward on this
Mhm.
team. And still had 25 assists last year in very, very limited minutes. So I think that has some room to grow.
Yeah, no, I agree. I like that pick. I like that pick. I
All right.
would love for it to happen.
So first hit from last year, it's points, and I did get it right. I went with the safe pick of Jared McCann. Didn't get there in the smoothest way, but he did end up leading the team in points yet again. Dylan, you went with Vince Dunn, and of course, the injury really hurt you there.
Yeah.
But up 1-0 on you from last year's results, even though we know how it ended, you would end up coming back. Points leader, it's been Jared McCann every single year of the Kraken's existence. Are you going with the obvious pick?
I think so. As much as I would like to say like Shane Wright, and I think that he can take that step forward, I think that there's still a little bit of a gap there. I don't know that Shane's going to close that gap all in year one, especially because we don't really know how Lane Lambert's going to utilize Shane Wright. Lane Lambert's going to utilize Jared McCann, right? Like this is the one thing we do know. And as much as I would love to pick Vince Dunn, and I do think Vince Dunn is going to come back and score a lot, Vince Dunn just hasn't been healthy through a full season now in a couple of years. So for that reason, Jared McCann was obviously injured last year, played through it, still got the full 82. For that reason, I think I have to go Jared McCann to just continue the streak of leading this team in points.
Yep, I have to agree on that one. I know it's not that interesting, but it was one of the few I got right last year. I have to stick with the one thing you can kind of set your watch to there. So moving on to, or I guess
I was going
you
to
have
say
a
dark
for
horse.
points.
I,
Yeah,
I was going to say dark horse for points. I mean, I guess, I mentioned Shane Wright. Matty Beniers, if he like steps, oh, sorry.
it's like you read it right off my notes. Go ahead, go
I
ahead.
was gonna say Matty Beniers just because I could see this system really working better for him, especially if it's going to lead to more controlled offensive zone time. I think if he can be the puck carrier in the offensive zone or help work the cycle a little bit more, I think that's just going to benefit Matty Beniers. And I don't know, for whatever reason, I still think of Shane Wright as more of like a goals first kind of guy, where I see Matty as more of a complete player offensively. So I could see Matty being, a dark horse one here.
Yeah, no, that's a
Yeah.
good pick. That's what I had in my notes. And I mean, if he does form a proper first line, let's say Jaden Schwartz and Capo Caco, if they just keep that together, he's going to get a ton of opportunity.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, now moving on to penalty minutes. I also got this one right last year. I went with Brandon Montour. I looked at some of his Florida seasons, saw that he had some big PIM numbers previously, and turns out he does lead the team in penalty minutes by quite a bit, with 70 last year. Next is Ty Karche with 43. Although shout out to Yanni Gord with third place on the team with 36 PIMs in 36 games.
Yep.
So definitely the highest pace there, but of course he gets traded at the deadline and deals with the injury, so he's not able to lead the team. Dylan, you went with the Dundertaker. You thought Vince Dunn might be a little bit more active on the penalty sheet. He finishes 5th on the team with 33. This one feels pretty wide open to me, like it was last year. We really weren't confident with anybody we went with. Who do you think is going to be the penalty minutes leader this year?
I mean, Montour nearly doubling up. Like, you feel like you've got to go with him. Like, credit to Vince Dunn, right? Like, he stopped a lot of the bad penalties that he was taking those first couple years with the Kraken. He really cut back on that this past season. I love seeing that from Vince Dunn. Team is better when he is out there and when he's not in the box. So credit to Vince Dunn for doing that. I'll gladly be wrong on last year's pick, taking Vince Dunn there. I think I have to go Brandon Montour just because I look at some of the other options. I don't think Ty Karche is going to get enough games to get up there.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing too.
I think there's a chance Jamie Alexiak gets moved at some point. He's another one who could factor into this. I just don't think Lars takes enough penalties. And Vince Dunn, like I talked about with like assists, I just don't know that he's going to be healthy and play the full 82. Montour's probably going to play the full 82 or play more games than Vince Dunn. And so because of kind of the few guys on this team that do have a shot at taking this title, I think Brandon Montour is just the one that makes sense.
All right, I'm going with a name you haven't even mentioned yet.
It might be my dark horse candidate.
Okay, it's the new arrival, Mason Marchment.
Oh, you're right.
He is going to mix it up.
Oh, I thought
He
about
is
this
gonna get
yesterday
involved.
too. Why didn't I write it down?
He's going to have some fights. You know, he is just chaos on skates. He's going to get involved in some things. He's going to take some penalties, probably some unwise penalties as well. But he has to be the penalty minutes leader. The only thing I think that could really get in the way of it is just he's traded at the deadline, which might be pretty likely. So I don't know. It's a risky pick, but I have to go with Mason Marchment.
Yeah, and his PIM numbers are respectable. They're not outrageous, right? Like he's trying to keep himself from being a liability out there.
I think there's going to be a couple. I think there's going to be a couple fights early on, especially at home, to kind of ingratiate himself with the new fans.
I think so. I think you're right about that. That's a really good pick, and it is one also where this is what he's brought to the team to be, right? Like, is to kind of be that culture setting guy. That's been something that fans have certainly talked about the last couple of years with this team, is not having that person who steps up right away when something goes down. Mason Marchment, his job coming into the team is basically to do that. My dark horse pick, and this is because I just don't know how many games he's going to get, but if Lane Lambert decides to really run with him, I think he could be up there, and that's John Hayden. Right, because that
was my dark horse too.
That would be the other guy on the team that could be involved in some fights and really rack up the PIMs there. It would be John Hayden. It's just without seeing kind of how the lines are going to shake out, not knowing the situation with Berkeley Catton yet, I just don't know how many games John Hayden's really going to get right now.
Yeah, last season, 31 penalty minutes in 20 games for John Hayden. So at that pace, certainly a candidate to lead the team. If he's around a lot, he really could have the inside track. So next, power play goals. Last year, we both got it wrong. We both had Jared McCann. Spoiler alert, we picked Jared McCann for a lot of the goal categories because he usually tends to lead in those. But as we know, it was a bit of a down year for Jared McCann, especially on the power play, as he finishes tied for 5th on the team. But happy to say the power play goals leader last year, Shane Wright with 7.
Yeah, no, Shane Wright was fantastic on the power play last year. Could really get that one timer working for them. He was really good. I got to think he's going to be up there again this year. I kind of like him. I don't want to just choose the top guy though from last season for all of these, but I mean Shane, we saw what he can do on the power play. And again, I think of him as a goals first kind of guy. He's got the high shooting percentage. It's one where I really want to pick who my dark horse candidate is, and I'm sure
Well, I
everybody
know
can
who
guess
it
who.
is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm sure everybody could guess who it is. But again, without knowing definitively, you know, there could be a big difference in his number if he plays 79 versus 55 games next year, Yanni Newman. So I think I have to pick Shane Wright just because I don't think Montour's going to be up there in that conversation again. I don't think Maddie can do that. Jaden Schwartz, I just can't count on another full healthy season. I'd love for it to happen, and if this causes it to happen by me not believing in him, that's great. But I think Shane Wright's just the one that makes sense because I also think that Jared McCann shooting from his spot, I think they're going to want to utilize one timers more, and that means Shane Wright and Yanni Newman.
You know what? There's only so much I can blame you for picking Shane Wright because I'm also going to pick Shane Wright. But man, I really thought you were going to go with Yanni Newman. And I will say this much. If I was you,
If you told
if
me
I
right now
believed,
75 games, I'm taking Yanni Newman.
no, I'm sure you are. But like if I believed in Yanni Newman and his goal scoring production to the extent you do, which by the way, you set the goal scoring line on the over unders at like over 20
Crazy
goals.
high. Yeah, no. He was on
If I believed in him to that level, I'm picking him.
Yeah, okay. All right, call me out like that. Um no, I mean Yanni Newman in the 12 games last year had 2 power play goals. Like he was on pace for like 13, 14 power play goals last season. I think at some point, you know, he's going to go through a stretch where he's going to rack up a lot of power play goals. Other teams are going to have to adjust to him and we'll see, you know, can he beat those adjustments? I still worry a little bit about his mobility out there on the power play while being set up for that one timer. But again, it's just one where if Yanni Newman gets only 55 games, like you were kind of saying last week with the over unders, can he beat out Shane Wright, who's going to potentially get close to 30 more games? It's a big gap. I think he'd make it close though.
He certainly could. I mean, that's the thing with all those question marks with Yanni Newman because there's a lot of them. I would tend to take the under on a lot of those things. I think he'll be a little lower in terms of games, and even if he does get 70 games or so, I still think Shane Wright would be ahead of him. So I'm going to go with Shane Wright. But
has any Kraken player ever gotten double-digit power play goals? Last year, McCann got 9, or the year before.
I would look at McCann year 2 during his.
He got 7 year 2 to lead the team, and 8 year 1. So nobody's ever gotten double digits. If Yanni Newman gets like 75, 77 games, I think he becomes the first Kraken player to get double-digit power play goals. I'll lock that in.
Okay. All right. Well, you get a little bit of credit there. If he gets the games.
If he gets the games, I mean that's the problem, right? Like I just don't know that he's going to get the games.
If he gets the games and gets there, then I'll give you the point. If he gets the games, doesn't get there, then I'll take away like half a point.
Yeah, that's fair. That's reasonable.
Okay. Cool. All right. From power play goals, we go to shorthanded goals, and this one just feels so random.
This is insane.
We both picked Jared McCann, and I think we were both just grasping at it like, look, we couldn't tell you. Obviously you need somebody who's going to get PK time.
Yep.
Beyond that, who knows? The play just has to develop the right way. And we both went with Jared McCann, just thinking, well, he's a good goal scorer. He's on the PK. Maybe that's enough. And it was not enough, as Jared McCann does not get a single shorthanded goal last season. The Kraken only had 3 of them as a team.
Yeah, it was a brutal year.
But 2 of them went to Chandler Stevenson. That was certainly enough for the lead over Ty Karche, who had the 3rd one.
Yeah, I mean, Chandler Stevenson getting a lot of shorthanded ice time that we weren't really expecting and didn't really see coming there. It makes sense, right? Because if you not only need to be out there on the PK to lead the team in shorthanded goals, but you also have to be quick. You have to be able to get up the ice because any scoring chance that's occurring when you're down a man is usually breakaway one-on-one opportunities, right? There's some, sort of zone clear. You go out there, you get it, and you're trying to pressure the other team. So it has to be somebody who can skate, right? This is why Yanni Gord, always up there. This is why Brandon Tanev could have always led the team in this category if you could ever finish on any of the breakaways. So it does have to be somebody who can skate. Maddie can scoot. I think Maddie Beniers is going to start getting some more shorthanded ice time. I'm going to go Maddie Beniers here.
Okay, Matty Beniers, that's a solid pick. I know I was thinking about it last year with Matty. I was considering it. I think I had him as my dark horse. So solid pick there. I mean, as solid as any of these picks could be.
Yeah.
But I'm going to go with another new arrival. I'm going to go with Freddie Gaudreau
Hmm.
because he had a fair amount of shorthanded ice time with Minnesota previously, and so we know he will kill penalties. Should be on that PK for the Kraken. He has some speed. He also just has some puck skills,
He
right? I mean,
does.
we know he's a shootout specialist, and he can score. I mean, put up 18 goals last year. How many of those were shorthanded? Can I figure that out? Okay, 0 of them were shorthanded, but he did have. All right, whatever. What I did see last night as I was doing research.
It's a pretty random thing, yeah.
It is a pretty random thing, but in 22-23, so 2 years ago, he did have 4 shorthanded goals in that season. So we know he can do it. He can pop off for those
And
are the
has
only 4
never
of his career.
Yes, I was gonna say it never scored any more in any other season.
But I don't know. That's my pick. This is as random as it can get anyway. So I'm gonna go with the fun pick and Freddie Gaudreau.
It is. It is. My dark horse is a different new arrival. I could see Mason Marchment out there on the PK some in Lane Lambert's system just for the grit, and he also just feels like one of those guys that, unlike Brandon Tanev, if he finds himself in the awkward situation where he's coming down the ice with a breakaway, I think he finds a way to kind of fumble it into the back of the net.
Yeah, that's a fair dark horse. Man, I don't even. Oh, my dark horse, Ellie Tolvanen, because he was starting to get PK time toward the end of last year, and if he's on the PK and he was second on the team in goals, I don't know, maybe they combine.
I know everybody's excited to see like what the line combinations are, 5-on-5, power play units, all of that kind of stuff. I do think genuinely I am most interested to see where Lane Lambert and staff goes with the PK, because this is a team that has so many options, and I'm just genuinely curious, like, do we see Chandler Stevenson get the PK time that he got last season? Does that go to a Gaudreau, a Mason Marchment? How does he utilize Matty Beniers? Because Matty Beniers does need to be out there on the PK. Like, every metric says Matty Beniers should probably be your PK leader, and no coach yet has really decided to take that leap with him. I do wonder, going into his fourth full season, do we finally get that for Matty Beniers? Like, I'm really curious to see how that shakes out, and I'm also very curious to see on the back end what those PK defensive pairings end up looking like as well, because that was kind of a weird problem for them last year, was kind of settling on D pairs. I'm very curious to see what Lane Lambert and staff ends up doing back there.
Yeah, agreed, and especially with Ryan Lindgren.
Yep.
For those deep pairs, he's going to be a big part of the PK, I'm
Mhm.
sure. So that'll change things as well. On to game-winning goals, and this one we talked about it last year. Just how seemingly random it can be. You're not safe just going with the team's goals leader necessarily. I guess this past year you were, but if you could predict the goals leader in Jaden Schwartz, then I guess you'd be safe with it. But yeah, Jaden Schwartz leads the team with 6 game winners. Brandon Montour in second with 4 of them. So good for Monty there, and then a bunch of guys tied with 3. Dylan, and I think the year before it was Alex Wenberg.
Mm-hmm.
So who are you going with? Who's going to be just the lucky guy who comes up big in the big moments?
All right, so kind of looking at
clutch. So I'll correct myself. Clutch, not
clutch. Yeah. So looking at the last couple of years, who's led in this category, and trying to see if there is any sort of pattern, and thinking about situations if it is a close game, right? It's a tie game. Who's going to get that goal for the team? Thinking about the situations and who does well in those situations, maybe it isn't surprising that Jaden Schwartz led last year, just because net front player, you're trying to get a goal, you're trying to grind one out, you're trying to play in and around the crease, and so a player like Jaden Schwartz is able to get there. I think that's why Capo Caco this year is going to lead the team in game-winning goals, because not only does he have that Jaden Schwartz kind of grit where he can be net front and get those rebounds and kind of make those plays, but he also has the skill set to shoot from a little bit further back and to be involved in the power play and be involved in various different situations. I think Capo Caco, first full year as a Kraken, is going to lead the team in game-winning goals, just because he's going to be out there and get the ice time in a lot of those kind of key clutch situations, and I think it's his time to step up and be the guy.
I like that pick. It's a fun pick. I'm going to go with Shane Wright because if you remember a couple of years ago, he had 3 game-winning goals in
He
8
did.
games. And of course, that's just kind of the randomness of how that sort of thing works. But had 2 last season. I like him to increase his goal scoring output. He's going to be
Hmm.
hopefully used more in big situations, especially late in games, especially later in the season, I would hope. So he's going to be in those spots. He should be. I mean, I feel bad I didn't pick him for the team goals lead and try to do something fun aside from Jared McCann. So I feel like I'm compensating a little bit by picking him here.
Yeah, my dark horse for this one, full healthy season from Jordan Eberle, just would feel kind of
Okay.
like right for the captain, if he stays around through the trade deadline. Like
Okay.
I could see a season where he doesn't get a ton of goals, maybe he plays on the third line, but he's like the extra skater attacker guy out there who like helps make things happen in clutch moments. So maybe it's more like game tying goals for Eberle, but uh I think he would be due as well.
Okay. That's fun. I mean, for my dark horse, I'm going with Chandler Stevenson. He only
Sure.
had 1 game winner last year, but you know what I could see? I'm just imagining this. The defensive numbers are roughly the same as they were last year, but he magically finds a way to produce, and in big moments too. I could see people
Hmm.
defending him like, look, he leads the team in game-winning goals. Look at all these clutch game winners he has. He's got like 5 or 6 of them, and we have to just try and explain ourselves again and explain it like, well, no, look at the whole picture. So he's my dark horse pick for no good reason aside from that.
Yeah, no, that's reasonable.
All right. Next is shots on goal.
Hmm.
We both thought we had just the obvious pick here. And of course, again, it's Jared McCann. We
Hmm.
both picked Jared McCann. He had been the team shots leader just about every year. And we figured it was just a gimme. And so we were making the boring pick. But for once, a new arrival actually unseated Jared McCann as the team shots leader. And it's Brandon Montour. He had 231 shots on goal last year. Jared McCann with 202. I think it says something about this team's forward group that
They never shoot the puck.
a defenseman was able to lead the team
Hmm.
in shots on goal, because that does not happen for most teams. But yeah, Montour takes the crown. Are you willing to pick Brandon Montour again? Because we know he funnels a ton of pucks to the net. Or are you betting on a rebound for Jared McCann? Or is there somebody else we should consider?
Well, the name to consider is Yanni Newman, and this is like why last week my thought process with him potentially getting to 20 is just that he shoots the puck an unbelievable amount of times. He was averaging 4 shot attempts per game last year, got nearly 2 of them on net per game last season. I think he was at I think a little over 3 in the AHL last year, shots on goal per game. Yanni Newman is the volume shooter that the Kraken have been waiting for at the forward, for the forward group. It is Yanni Newman. It's just a question of, does he do it this year, right? Does he get the games, and does he feel confident enough as, a 20, 21-year-old first full NHL season to really just throw everything at net and just be the guy, given that he walks in and has arguably the best shot on the team, right? I don't think he does. I think it takes him a year. I think this is one where next year I feel confident taking Yanni Newman, but this year I think I have to go with Brandon Montour, who also had over 242 shots on goal the last time he played in 80 games back in Florida. So I just think this is kind of who Brandon Montour is just somebody who wants to fire everything from the point. And so this year I will go with Brandon Montour, but lock it in for next year, Yanni Newman.
Okay, I think that's fair. I would have thought it was a little extreme had you gone with Yanni Newman this year. Like, I don't even want to say that I'm bearish on Newman's production this year. It's just that the bars that we're looking at here,
Are insane.
like over 20 goals or leading the team in shots on goal, I think are a little high just for now. And I think on this one, you certainly have agreed. And I think Brandon Montour will continue to throw a bunch of pucks to the net. Like, I think we could see similar shooting output. But I do think Jared McCann,
If he feels
hopefully
better.
that's like, if he feels better, which after an off season to heal, at least he says he should be fine coming back into next season, and also just more confident in pucks going in. I think his shooting is going to go back up, and they're certainly going to need him this year because they really haven't added a whole lot of scoring punch over
Hmm.
the off season. They're going to need him to get back more in that 35 goals range if they're going to have any chance of doing anything. So I think he's going to shoot plenty, and I'm going to go with McCann again. I think he'll retake the crown.
Yeah, the one thing that kept me from going with Jared McCann is not entirely knowing what the system's going to look like from Lane Lambert, and if it's going to call on forwards to throw a lot of pucks on net. I could see a situation with Lane Lambert looking at Jaden Schwartz, Capo Caco, seeing how a lot of goals were scored for this team last year and saying, our best bet is like net front scrambles, in which case you want shots from the point that are going to create rebounds and create some chaos net front. And I think that that's something that Lane Lambert and his system could thrive on. I think of him being the Barry Trotz coaching tree. Barry Trotz loves defensemen to be involved, send those pucks on net, let the big bodies then go to work for the rebounds. And for that reason, I was also thinking, like, I agree, Jared McCann is going to make it close because he should feel better. But I think that the system might favor Brandon Montour a little bit more than him.
That's fair. I'm trying to go back and look at the excuse me, the Lane Lambert Islanders. Let's see if I can pull this up real quick and see the shots on goal leaders for that team.
Well, 22-23, it was Brock Nelson, followed by Lee, and then Noah Dobson in third. All pretty close, though. Like, they were within 16 shots of each other.
That is close enough, certainly. And a 23-year-old Noah Dobson as well. So,
Yeah.
I mean, you have a couple veteran defensemen who probably get more than the 2023 of ice time that Dobson did. They'll have a little more opportunity to shoot the puck. So, yeah, I mean, you can see the defense being active. Dobson and Pullock throwing a lot of shots on net. So,
yeah,
good observation there.
Yep.
So
Noah Dobson last year under Barry Trotz led the team in shots as well. Those shot numbers are tough for the forwards that last year under Barry Trotz.
Yeah, I mean, I think that says something about the forward group.
Everybody on the team under 200, like even Noah Dobson leading the team at 190. It's rough.
Oh man, yeah. I mean, but hey, I think if there's ever a forward group that's similar to that one, this Kraken forward group, you might be able to say that about. So, but that's shots on goal. That's a counting stat. That's a volume stat. That's throwing pucks on net. But I want to know who can make them go in at the best rate. Who can be selective with those shots. Last year, so shooting percentage. Last year, man, we both got it wrong. I felt like I was closer because you had Jared McCann. And he had a bit of an off year shooting percentage of 10.9, finished 11th on the team. I went with Chandler Stevenson, who finished second.
Yeah, that was really a good
close.
Pick. That was a good pick.
Unfortunately, we were both wrong. Well, really, fortunately. Well, no, unfortunately, I'll say it. Shane Wright led the team, 20.9 shooting percentage, a shooting percentage that Wright himself admitted at the end of the season was too high. I remember that in the exit interviews. He said, my shooting percentage was too high. Got to get that down next year. And of course, what that means is that he's not shooting the puck enough. He's a scorer. He needs to put more pucks on net. He knows it. So do you think he's going to get that message? And I mean, really, we should be hoping that he doesn't lead the team in shooting percentage next year, because if he does, that means he's still not shooting enough.
Right, and that's really the key to picking this one. Right, is you either think somebody's going to get like 40 goals and score like just an exceptional amount, or it's the players that really pick and choose their spots and keep the overall shot total down, so that when they do, like Chandler Stevenson, have 13 goals, which is not super high number or anything, he only had 72 shots on goal. Right, so it leads to a very high percentage there at 18.1. I too hope that it's not Shane Wright. I think Shane Wright's a scorer. Shane Wright, at every level of hockey he's played, has always had a high shooting percentage. Like, that's just who he is. But I do hope that it is lower than 20.9. His NHL career average right now is 22.4, because he just does not take a lot of shots on goal. In 95 NHL games, he only has 107 shots on goal. If he's going to turn into a 20, 25, 30 goal scorer, he needs to shoot the puck more than that. Probably twice as much, if not even more. So I definitely don't think it's going to be Shane Wright. Hopefully he does take those shots this year. However, I am going to steal your pick from last year. I think,
come on.
Well, but it's true, right? Like, if I don't think that Jared McCann can like score 40 basically, which is what he would need to kind of match the shooting percentage, then I have to pick the guy who's going to take less than a shot per game in Chandler Stevenson, but I still think is going to score somewhere between 10 and 15 goals. Like, that, just the math points to that.
It does, and that's why I'm picking Stevenson also. I mean, I'm tempted to switch my pick to who I imagine would be your dark horse, and just go Yanni Newman for chaos.
Yeah.
I just can't do it. I like the Stevenson one. I felt like I planted my flag there last year. I have to stick
Yeah,
with it.
no, it's yours. If you want, I could
No,
retroactively
no,
give you the
it's
point for
fine. It's
last
fine.
year. But
No, it's
the
fine.
math
It's fine.
just makes sense for it to be Chandler Stevenson. Um, I think the dark horse would be Capo Caco for me,
Okay.
just because I think he's going to be involved in a lot of those net front scrimmages. He'll be able to pick up goals from that. And we saw last year, like he does shoot the puck, but he's not like, again, he's not like a huge volume guy.
Yeah, my dark horse is Yanni Newman because I know he is more of a volume shooter, but you just think of where he's going to have the opportunity to shoot the puck. It's going to be largely on the power play and less so at 5-on-5. They're going to be quality shooting opportunities.
Yes.
So last year was a shot at 13.6%, pretty good. So you can keep that just a little bit higher.
Yeah. Again,
so
with
I think I want to be selective as a rookie too.
yeah, with a lot of total shot attempts too. It's impressive.
Yep. So next is time on ice. So overall ice time, and by the way, it is average ice time per game. That's what we're looking at. So kind of takes injuries out of it a little bit. It's just average ice time per game. And Dylan, I mean, again, we both picked the same person. We both got it wrong. We figured Vince Dunn, number one defenseman on the team. We thought he was going to be healthy. Ended up not being healthy. And look, for average ice time, of course, if it's total ice time, then the missing 20 games is just going to destroy it, right?
Yep.
But it's average ice time, so he does finish second on the team. But I think what did him in here is that you have Brandon Montour, someone who's able to really take the reins with Vince Dunn out. And so Montour with averaging 22:59, so almost 23 minutes of ice time. Vince Dunn with 22:05, so about a minute short of Brandon Montour. And yeah, we both got it wrong.
Yeah, I do think that there were some games in there where they were trying to ease Vince Dunn back into the lineup, and it did affect his overall average time on ice. I don't know that that'll happen under Lane Lambert. Like it's really tough for me to try to guess like who Lane Lambert's going to totally rely upon. It's going to be one of these two guys.
There's only two guys it could be. Yes.
Like
I didn't pick a dark horse because there's only two.
Yeah, it has to be one of Montour, Dunn. I think it's going to be Vince Dunn because I think Vince Dunn has the edge defensively, and so I think Lane Lambert's going to go with him more.
Okay, well, I had Vince Dunn also, so I'm
right.
going with Vince Dunn. Oh, look, I think he has the edge defensively, and also you look at the last 30 games of last season, and Vince Dunn had almost a minute more ice time than Brandon Montour. When he was in his groove and when they were both healthy, Dunn was the proper number one defenseman. I know it's a new coaching staff. The utilization might be a little different, but I still think it's pretty clear on this team who the number one defenseman is when both guys are there. Also, Montour had to play upwards 26, 27 minutes a night with Vince Dunn out. So if Dunn is healthier, Montour's not going to get those insane minutes that he got last year.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it's Vince Dunn. I also think like this year we're going to see them really prioritize Vince Dunn, and we'll see if there's defensive issues. I think we'll see, shakeups with the D pairs. Like maybe Lars isn't the guy out there with Vince Dunn, but Vince Dunn's always going to be that guy on the first pair.
Yep, agreed. So we added this category last year because we thought, okay, time on ice is fun, but really there's only one or two defensemen that it could be. Let's look at the forward ice time leaders. And I think this one is way more wide open. Last season, we picked, where is it? Yeah. So you got this one right last year, Dylan. I picked Jared McCann. It was a little bit more of an off the board pick there, thinking because he had never led the team or come close before. I figured, he's the best forward. He should get more ice time. Didn't work out that way. He was battling an injury, but you picked Chandler Stevenson. It was your first correct pick of the episode, by the way.
Wow, so I cleaned up at the lead at the end. Like, geez.
Yes, you really did. I had a 2-0 lead for a long time. But congrats, you got your first correct pick there. Chandler Stevenson does lead the forwards in ice time with 19:31 per game. At a fairly distant second is Matty Beniers with 18:41, 50 seconds a game behind. And then you have some of the wingers, Schwartz, McCann, Kakko, Eberle. Are you going to go with Stevenson again to repeat as the ice time leader?
It will probably be Stevenson, but I want to go Matty Beniers. Okay, I know, I keep picking your picks. Look, I think that Matty Beniers just fits Lane Lambert's system better than Stevenson did. Like last year, the Stevie pick makes sense because that's the way Dan Bosma wanted to play. He wanted somebody who could skate, like them signing Stevenson. It all just lined up with what Dan Bosma wanted. Matty Beniers is a Lane Lambert player. Right, he's going to be the guy that can go out there, and if you let him, if you're the first NHL coach to let Matty Beniers be heavy on the forecheck and really try to pressure other teams in their defensive zone and go after them like that and work on the PK where we know he can thrive and has great numbers. Matty Beniers should be the ice time leader amongst the forward group this year for Coach Lane Lambert. Not only that, but I also wonder, given the situation he's found now with his line mates and stuff, I think he can match the point production of Stevenson. I just don't see how Stevenson should get more time than Matty Beniers, even though he probably will just because he's the more senior player and he has a history with Coach Lane Lambert already.
Yeah, that is true. They do have the history there. And of course, I had Matty Beniers. And thank you for basically just reading from my notes as far as why I thought it would be Matty. I just think, yeah, he's a better fit for the Lane Lambert system. And I think he's already was kind of operating as the number one center toward the end of last season. I think the trend line is certainly pointing towards it. I'm tempting to change it to Stevenson now just because I would love to be wrong. But then if I'm right, then at least I get a point here.
Yeah.
You know what? I'll change it to be interesting
Okay.
here because we can't agree 3 times in a row.
Yeah.
So I will go with Stevenson, as much as I still do think it'll probably be Matty Beniers.
Yeah.
All right. Let me just change that in my notes because I'm trying to keep track of it now, so it's easier for next year.
Good idea.
All right. Blocks. Just like you blocked me from the pick that I wanted, now we're going to go with blocks. So blocked shots. And last year, you got it right. So good on you. I went back and listened to the episode, and we pretty much agreed that it could only be one of 2 players. It was a 2-man race, and we were certainly correct about that. Jamie Alexiak and Adam Larson.
Yep.
Those are going to be the top 2 in shot blocks. They certainly were. 159 and 148. Riker Evans a distant third with 106. But Jamie Alexiak comes out ahead. You went Alexiak, I went Larson. And there was only a difference of 11 between them. But the Rig gets it done.
Yeah, no, he does. I'm curious to see where you're going this year because I have one and I'm afraid to say it first now, so I want you to go first.
Well, I don't think it's a 2-man race anymore. I think Alexiak could be in it. Larson could be in it. I worry about Alexiak being dealt at the deadline, so I can't pick him.
Same.
That leaves Adam Larson, but I gotta go with Brian Lindgren.
Okay.
He's known for shot blocks, right? This is and he hasn't put up like massive numbers like he didn't last year. I think the injuries have kind of taken a toll on him, but he's still going to get in the way of a lot of pucks. Like that's just what he does. He knows no different. And I think Kraken fans are going to know him for blocking shots, and so I'm going to go with him as the shots block leader.
Yeah. See, I think I'm going Lars, because I just think Lars is an Iron Man who's always out there. And I think the game's played edge over Alexiak, who could be dealt, and Lindgren, who's going to miss a handful of games just because he puts his body on the line every which way possible, compared to Adam Larson, who just never misses any games. I think because they're all so close to each other, and all their numbers do say that they are close to each other, give me the guy who's probably going to be out there the most, just to accumulate a counting stat. So it's not like the greatest reasoning in the world. It's not the most fun reasoning in the world, but I'm going to go with Adam Larson. I do think, though, there is something that could sway this Lindgren's way, and I did consider Lindgren for this. I think there's a chance that Lindgren ends up playing more, maybe not for the season average time on ice, but I think that there's a possibility that Lindgren gets more time on ice than Lars the second half of next season, if he's healthy.
See that. If he is healthy and gets there. Also, maybe more time in the D zone, just given how the numbers have been,
right,
for him and everything. I could see him get more D zone time. They're both defensive defensemen, but I think Lars, has a little more utility in the offensive zone, and maybe paired with Vince Dunn. I could see that as well.
And PK time, like it wouldn't shock me if Lindgren got more PK time. That would lead to more shot blocking opportunities, stuff like that. So I do think it should be pretty close between Lars and him.
Yeah, I wonder if we see a Lindgren Larson D pair on the PK.
See, I'm wondering about that. It could happen.
because we know Alexiak Larson doesn't always work the best, but maybe
Right.
Lindgren throws a different element into there. From blocks, we go to hits. And Dylan, we were both wrong again. We went with Ty Cartier,
Mm-hmm.
who I'm looking back. Did he lead the team the prior year?
Oh, I
Yes, he
mean,
did.
yeah, yeah.
He did. 229 hits to lead the team. We figured he would repeat as the hits champion. Figured he'd get enough games and be able to do that. We were both wrong.
I think
As
he
he
was
was
on pace
surpassed,
too.
he was on pace, but he didn't get
The
enough
games,
games.
yeah.
63 games. It wasn't enough because Ellie Tolvanen
Mm-hmm.
kept up his massive hitting pace. I mean, Tolvanen was second on the team the year prior, and we kind of thought that was odd, right? Like Ellie Tolvanen, a big hitter. But
He is on the forecheck.
yeah, he certainly is. I mean, he's on the forecheck, racking up those hits numbers with 237 hits last season. I mean, is he going to run away with it again this year? I mean, who could even compete with him?
The only person, especially because I think that like Lane Lambert's system should lean into this. The only person that I could see, no, he doesn't even get enough hits. Mason Marchment, but like no, there's nobody that
Career high of
yeah,
114
no,
in 21-22.
there should be nobody that comes close to what Ellie Tolvanen does here, unless again you like really go off the rails with Matty Beniers on the forecheck. But he's even when he's a heavy forechecker, he's not hitting people. He's just pressuring the puck. He wants to go for the puck. There's nobody on this team that should come close to Ellie Tolvanen.
Right, unless Tolvanen gets dealt at the deadline, and then you potentially have a more open race among the remaining players. But I'd say there's even a higher chance that Marchment would get dealt at the deadline.
Right, and I don't even know that Marchman would be the next guy up. I think then you're starting to look at like a Riker Evans and Adam Larson kind of, a defenseman
Yeah,
at that point. Like this is just not a.
or Ty Cartier if he can eke out enough of a roster spot.
Yeah, I just don't think he can. What were John Hayden's numbers? Where's Haydes? 44 hits in 20 games is a lot.
Mm-hmm.
It's not anywhere close to Tolvanen's pace, but like if Tolvanen was to get dealt in like December or January, maybe, I don't know. It's Tolvy.
It is.
Tolvy could get traded at the deadline in March and still lead this team in hits. Like I firmly believe that.
Right. I think you could build up enough of a lead for sure. So yeah, no, I'm not going to give you a hard time about going with the same pick here with the hits leader. All right. Finally, for the skater categories here, face-off percentage.
Mm-hmm.
Now we did sort this out, the details, because there has to be a minimum number of face-offs taken.
Mm-hmm.
Because Dylan, do you know who the leader last year in face-off percentage was? If there is no minimum.
Well, I happen to be looking at it right now. Okay. So yes, it is my boy Yanni Newman.
Yes, with 1 face-off win, 0 face-off losses, perfect 100%. But of course, that's not how we pick these things. That wouldn't be as interesting. Minimum 100 face-offs. That's what we decided. You have to take 100 face-offs. And we both felt like it was obvious. Of course, it had to be the face-off specialist, Chandler Stevenson, right? We couldn't pick anybody else. And yet we were both wrong. We were 2 letters off.
Yep, yeah, we were.
Because the actual face-off leader, minimum 100 face-offs, was Mitchell Stevens. 104 face-off wins, 90 face-off losses, took 194 draws, so that's certainly enough. 53.6% in the dot. So good for Mitchell Stevens, making us both wrong. Stevenson, second place.
I was going to say, if you made the minimum 200, yeah. Stevenson is the guy. Like,
yes. And pretty clearly the guy there too.
Yeah.
So we're right in spirit, but by our rules, we were incorrect.
Yeah, no, Mitchell Stevens got it. We'll see if he can continue that elsewhere now that obviously the gloves that he had that were responsible for all those face-off wins are in the garage right now for me, thanks to the equipment sale. So I now have the face-off, the face-off good luck charm. I gotta go Stevie. Like it has to be him. There's nobody else on this team, right? Like Frederick Gaudreau coming in for Yanni Gourde is a step down. We talked about that when I had my over-under for team face-off percentage. Matty Beniers and Shane Wright should take steps forward in that department. Like that is the normal progression for younger players. But like, are they jumping forward 4 percentage points for Matty Beniers and what, like 7 for Shane Wright? Probably not. That's an unbelievably large gap to fill in one season.
Yeah, I certainly can't take that into account and predict that. It's got to be Stevenson. I'm going with him too. Now, look, it could be. I mean, heck, it could be Mitchell Stevens again. If there's enough injuries
Yes.
at center or something, and Stevens comes up, all he needs to do is hit that 100 draw level, and with such a small sample size, yeah, he could be over 52% or whatever it is. Like, but you can't bank on that, and him specifically. Like, if it's Stevenson versus the field, maybe you edge it a little. I'd still take
I think I'd
Stevenson.
still take Stevenson. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, you know what? This is easy enough. We're both taking Chandler Stevenson, and that rounds out the skater categories. At least the skater categories in regulation here. Moving on to the goalies.
I was gonna say, do we even need to go category by category? Or we just say Joey Decord for everything.
Well, I mean, let's start with how it went last year, because this is where I lost. I need to break this whole thing down because this is where I fell apart. To this point, we were tied 2-2 in last year's results.
Yeah.
But what I did here with the goaltending, I went with the theme of expect the unexpected. You can go back and listen to the episode. My whole argument was, look, goaltending makes no sense. You can't predict it. It is, and at this point, Joey Decord hadn't completely solidified the starting job. It was a little more up in the air. We have to remember.
Yeah.
And I said, you go back and quote me in that episode, the smart money on all these categories is on Joey Decord. He looks like the better goalie. He should run away with this. He's got the familiarity with Dan. He is the Kraken's better goalie. But goaltending makes no sense. Expect the unexpected. And so I went with Grubauer for 3 out of the 4 categories. I went with him for wins. Oh my God. I went with
Smart
him for
money's
wins.
over here, so I went dumb money.
Yes, I went full dumb money because goaltending is dumb.
Yep.
But okay, it turns out it wasn't so dumb last year. Joey Decord ahead and wins 27-8 over Philip Grubauer. Not even close. I mean, you did the smart thing and picked Decord for 3 of the 4. So save percentage, I could not even pick Philip Grubauer for save percentage. I couldn't even bring myself to do that. So we were both correct. It got Joey Decord there. Goals against average, I somehow convinced you to pick Philip Grubauer. We both did.
Yeah.
That one very wrong. 2.75 for Joey, 3.49 for Philip Grubauer, and then quality start percentage. So percentage of starts, where they allowed fewer goals than the expected goals there. And I picked Philip Grubauer. You went Joey Decord. Joey had 618 quality start percentage. Philip Grubauer 385. Not anywhere close.
Yeah.
So looking ahead to this year, I am going to correct for all of that. I'm not even going to try and get creative with this. I'm picking Joey Decord in every category. Not going to make the same mistake 2 years in a row, but I'm going to try and convince you to make a mistake here.
I too am going Joey Decord in every category because.
Well, hold on. Let me make my case.
Oh, I was just gonna say, because I think that what's our minimum games played to qualify?
5 minimum 5 games played. It's low.
It is very low.
I'm not saying you should pick Philip Grubauer for anything.
I know. You're gonna make a case for Matt Murray and or one of Coco stepping in, and I do think that we're gonna see both Matt Murray and Coco at some point this season, just because. But I think because we're going to see both of them, I don't think either one gets to 5 games. Because I'm not going to project a major injury for one of Joey or Grubauer. If Joey, burnout gets injured and is going to miss like a month or 2, obviously one of those guys is going to get past the 5 games played marker, and they will probably be better than Philip Grubauer. But I think that, not trying to predict injury, I think Matt Murray is the guy early in the year, and later in the year, they want to reward Coco for the work he's done in CV, and he gets a couple starts later in the year, and we see like 3 starts each or something like that, like 5 total starts for them, 3 for Murray, 2 for Coco, something like that.
Okay. So you think Grubauer would still get into that many games?
Yeah, I think so. I think that the Lane Lambert system is going to make his really kind of solidify his numbers. I don't think they're going to be great. But I think
it won't get embarrassing.
Yes, I don't think he's going to have the issues that he had last year. Like, for a guy that is more angles based and everything, the shots he's facing should be a lot more predictable if the Kraken, and again, this is like we're assuming that the Kraken actually play Lane Lambert's systems the way they're supposed to be played, which based on last year's defense, that is a huge if, and maybe I'm giving it way too much credit. But in my mind, Philip Grubauer should do a lot better behind Lane Lambert's systems, even though Joey is going to be definitively the better goalie.
Yeah, no, I think I agree on all of that, except I think Murray's going to hit the 5-game mark.
It's possible.
And then at that point, I still just don't think his numbers on any of these categories are going to be better than Joey's, because Joey should still be good.
Right. I was going to say better than Grubauer, sure, but I just don't think he's going to be better than Joey. And I can't see Joey, not qualifying here.
Yeah. If this was last year's me making the picks, I'd probably pick Murray for quality or percent or goals against average, something like that. I pick him for one of those categories, but I cannot do it after it lost me last year. So on to the final category. If I was smart about the goaltending, this would have lost it for me last year. And it is shootout goals. So Dylan, I was too optimistic. I was way too optimistic. We were feeling good.
Mm-hmm.
I have to admit, we were feeling good. Dan Bilesman was taking over. He was fun. You know, there was so much hope for next year. And I really thought it would happen. It did not. I picked Adam Larson to lead the team in shootout goals. I had my whole spiel of look,
it's Dan a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see how it works out for him.
He's going to see how it goes in practice. Everyone's going to realize that Adam Larson is the Kraken's best shootout player. And I think everybody but Dan, for some reason, it's just a Kraken coach thing where they can't actually give him a try. Right. But this was a narrative. Dan was asked about this, and not even just by me. Allison was asking about this. Unfortunately, Adam Larson did not get a shootout attempt, but I maintain that if he did, he was going to score, and then they couldn't stop putting him in the shootout, and he was going to keep scoring. Didn't happen, unfortunately. You picked Jordan Eberle. You went with the most boring pick imaginable. And he won in the most boring way possible by getting exactly one shootout goal and tying for the team lead with 4 other people.
I was going to say,
congratulations, Dylan.
Being part of the 5-way tie for the top spot. It was pretty good. Good stuff from me there. All right, shootout goals this year. Who the heck knows?
I have a clear pick, but
yeah, is it Shane Wright?
No.
Okay, I'm gonna go Shane Wright.
Okay.
I think he's feeling it more this year. I think he's going to be one of their top goal scorers, and I think he's going to get the opportunities, and I think that he'll be dialed in.
Okay. 0 for 2 last year, Shane Wright, so maybe he's due for some success. I got to go with the shootout ace, Freddie Gaudreau. Yeah. The Kraken finally have a proper shootout specialist again. Not since Kyler Yamamoto have they had somebody with this level of shootout skill. You know he's going to get the opportunities. Lane Lambert's not going to look at that and not put him in the shootout. So I trust the hands there. Do you have a dark horse? Because I've given up on Adam Larson entirely. Not because of anything he's done, just because of the coaches.
You don't think bearded Lane Lambert, fun Lane Lambert's gonna go for it?
Absolutely not. I think there's real potential for him to be the least fun of the 3 coaches so far. And again, not a knock on him. It's not important, but.
Yeah. Dark horse Capo Caco. Give it to me.
Okay.
He was 1 for 2 last
year
with the Kraken.
Yeah. No, he scored one. Scored a big one, so that's good. My dark horse hasn't been mentioned at all on this podcast yet. Berkeley Catton.
Oh, yeah. If he sticks.
Why not throw him in the shootout?
Yeah, exactly. He's got, he probably has the best hands of anybody on the team, for deking and stuff.
Yeah, outside of Freddie Gaudreau, yes.
It's true. I do genuinely think there's going to be a lot more shootout opportunities this season because this year's team has to, whether it's because they're actually better on paper or just because the system's going to make games a little bit closer for them, they have to end up in more overtime situations than last year. Last year's team was just so abysmal at getting to overtime.
Yeah. I mean, hey, unless they were trailing by 2 with 5 minutes to go or something, then you could book it.
Yes, exactly. Unless it was the least likely scenario, in which case it was very much guaranteed. But I think this year's team gets to overtime a lot more. So I think we'll see this a little bit more.
Yeah.
All right.
So picks are locked in, Dylan.
Yep.
How confident you feeling?
I feel good. I feel very confident.
Okay, can we beat 6 of 19
I don't know that I
next
feel
year?
that confident.
Okay, fair enough, fair enough. But I
uh,
think looking back at this, really, like what it's gone to show me is just you really, I mean, you joked at the start of the episode about, well, we'll give you the picks now, and you don't even have to bother to watch the season.
yeah,
A lot can be different,
you
and even
have
the
to
most
watch the
obvious
season.
looking things, right? I mean, that's the thing about hockey. It's hard to predict. A lot can go very differently in a full 82 game season, and so uh, I'm sure a lot of these are going to be wrong, and it's going to be fun to see how they are wrong.
Yeah, I mean, this year I think we did a better job of spreading it out, right? Like it wasn't just like Jared McCann for everything, right? And then if anything happens to Jared McCann, you're like stuck. I think this year we did a better job of spreading it out. In theory, I think that makes us more likely to hit or at least like come in the 6-7 range. I don't know.
In theory, I don't know. I mean, I guess yeah,
It's what
last
you
year we
want to do
figured
on
by
a
kicking the
roulette
can
table.
so much. Yeah, that's true. Just go roulette strategy for this. Why not?
Yeah.
The bar is low enough.
Yep. But yeah, that's it's gonna be interesting to see. I can't wait to see, especially because like there's certain things that we factored in as guarantees. Like even if the pick wasn't like, oh yeah, it's Jared McCann for this, we were factoring in things like some guys like Alexiak getting traded, basically, right? Anything that Alexiak was involved in, we just excluded him because we're assuming he gets traded. It's possible he doesn't get traded, in which case he's very much in the mix for some of these things. Or
Goals, points, and blocks leader Jamie Alexiak.
yes,
Revisit this in a year.
or like Jaden Schwartz, right? Like for me, in my mind, there's no way he plays 80 plus games again, just because it's so unlikely for him. It could happen though, and in which case I think he's going to be involved in a lot of these things that I just didn't really consider him for, just because of that. So I think there are going to be some scenarios like that play out that we're kind of assuming happen and play out, and then they're just not going to.
Yeah, I think there are going to be a lot of those things, and we'll see what they are, and we'll try and drill down on exactly what they're going to be at a very granular level, game by game, next week.
Yep.
As we do, and it's one of the like silliest, dumbest, but one of my favorite things that we do all
It
year
is so much
is
fun.
going through the entire Kraken schedule and predicting the results of all 82 games with some flair attached to trying to earn some bonus points there. And I can't wait for next week.
I was gonna say for tiebreaker on that, if we need a tiebreaker, should we list who we think the scratches are for every game, and then try to tabulate that?
All right, I'm just going Karche 82 games across the board.
And what, Kale Fleury?
Oh yeah, that's true. That's the smart money's on Kale Fleury.
Smart money on Kale
job.
Fleury to lead the team in healthy scratches. Lock it in now. That's the 20th category for stat leaders. Oh man, no, it's gonna be a good one. I'm definitely looking forward to it for sure. Looking forward to seeing who else is gonna pick up the Bowie Bear story as well over the course of the next week, or if maybe it dies down a little bit. But again, that was a fun one, and of course it just seemed like such a natural fit to talk about with our wonderful sponsor, the law offices of Rico Tessendor. And while we hope none of you ever need his services, the odds say that at some point someone out there will be involved in an accident, whether on the road, at work, or anywhere in between. And when you are, we hope you call Rico at 425-778-9800 or visit his website ricotessendor.com to schedule a free consultation. He's won millions of dollars for his clients and helped thousands of people in the greater Seattle area, and as a fellow member of the ECH community, we know he'll help you too. Thanks so much for listening, everybody, and we will see you all next time.
Hey everyone, before we go, we just wanted to give a quick shout out to all of our awesome patrons over at patreon.com/Emerald City Hockey, especially our Terror of the Deep patrons.
Thank you so much for making all this possible. We really appreciate your support.